Remember that part of the brain I talked to you about this morning, the emotional center of the brain. If you go back a few steps in the brain, you come back here. Down here you have what is called the brainstem of the brain. That's what connects your brain to your spinal cord. That's in all the nerves in your body. And that's the conduct from over here, down here, that tells your body what to do. Okay? Right before you get to what we call the brainstem, there's a part of the brain that is called the memory center of the brain. Memory, the way God created you, you were created never to forget anything. Up till today, after 1,000 years of sin, there's no such thing as forgetting. Everything your five senses have ever recorded are there. Even with people, patients with Alzheimer's, we've conducted experiments with Alzheimer patients. People who are in their last stage of Alzheimer's, where they don't remember anything or anybody, if you use the right electrical current, you can get them to remember stuff. You know why? It's still there. What happened in Alzheimer is the highway that conducts memory from there to here is broken. That's all. You see, the brain has thousands of highways that I talked this morning, okay? We call them synapses that connect one portion of the brain together. Billions of them. In Alzheimer, they weaken and they break. So the information that's here from birth to then is there, but it can't make it here. Why am I sharing all this to you? Please put up the next slide for me. Hit. Maybe I should time the clicker. Maybe I get lucky this time. Okay. Fathers, more than anyone else, set the course for a daughter's life. I'm going to stay on this for a while. Most of you have a computer. All of you have a phone. Every computer, every phone has what is called an operating system. Without an operating system, the computer can't work. Okay? Without an operating system, the phone can't work. I have an iPhone. My operating system is an OS, I think. iOS? Okay, I have no idea what it stands for, but OS, operating system, okay? That's the operating system. The way God created humans, okay? Mom and dad are supposed to be the operating system of the child, okay? However, the father have the bigger portion of the operating system. Are you following me? Let me put it to you another way. See this building? This building cannot stand without a base, okay? The taller the building, the deeper the base. God created kids to have a base. That's father and mother. However, the father is the bigger portion of the base. This is why fathers, more than anyone else, set the course of a daughter's life. When a little girl is born, there's a section of her brain that has a label on it. That label says D-A-D, dad. Your job as the father is to program that section. This afternoon, this afternoon, I'm going to show you how to do that. It's very simple, more simple than most people think. But I want you to think, as I'm talking this afternoon, strong dad, strong daughters, your strength is not physical. I'm going to give you the strength. It's called presence. Are you following me? The strength of a dad is called presence. Folks, I've been in this business. This is my 18th year of doing this full time. In September 1999, I created the Living Circle. My goal was to travel the world and share a gospel of emotional health. It has taken me places I couldn't believe I would have been. I've been in the White House. I've been to Soweto in South Africa. 2 different worlds, but all the people are the same. Every daughter I meet along my path have wanted a dad that was present. I want to begin with an experience I had in South Africa. It was 2004. It was the 10th anniversary of apartheid being gone. Some of the most powerful women in the country, through a friend of mine, invited me to celebrate the 10th anniversary of apartheid in South Africa. 161 women from all over the southern continent came to Cape Town, South Africa. All these women were managers. They were top of their game. They came to a convention center for 5 days, and myself and 4 other presenters were there the whole week. I was the only male. Don't ask. I was the only one from America. The other 4 presenters were South African. I was the only male. They wanted a male's perspective. And my topic all week is, what role do a man plays in the life of a woman who happened to be an executive? Amazing. And all these women from all different types of cultures had one thing in common. Each of them had a what? A dad. Unfortunately, for most of them, dad was absent. I cannot tell you how many times, over and over and over again, I've met depressed women, women who are on their 4th or 5th husband, women who can't make it in life. And when you go back, you checked it to the foundation. Dad was absent. That's my theme this afternoon. Strong dad, strong daughters. Let me share some word with you. When a strong father comes in the room, the strong daughter changes. Are you listening to me? When you are a strong dad and you connect to your daughter, the minute you walk in the room, something happens inside of her. I don't care how old she is. She's not going to tell you, but I'm telling you, when your daughter sees you and you are connected, something happens inside. It sounds like this. It's my dad. When they become teenagers and they become impossible to live with, and they look like the devil and act like one, if you're connected with them inside, it's my dad. When they are 25 years old, they're dating that bum that you don't want in your house. If they know you love them and you're present, it's my dad. They are 35 years old. They're about to have their 3rd child. They're doing pretty well in their marriage. And you come by for a visit. Guess what goes inside of them? It's my dad. They are 65. You're still alive and about to retire. And you call them to congratulate them. You are 80 plus. When they hear your voice, what do you think goes inside of them? It's my dad. Now, that's if you are a strong dad. You follow? If you're not a strong dad, there's something else that goes inside. You know what goes on inside? I wish it was my dad. I wish it was my dad. Because, folks, dad is not a title. It's a connection. Just because you had a child doesn't mean you're a good father. Anyone can have a child. They have sperm. They can give a child. They are called sperm donors. Okay? But when you have that emotional connection, it's my dad. I'm very, very fortunate to have that kind of connection with the one daughter that I have. I think it happened by accident. Well, prayer. My mom prayed a lot over this knucklehead, and I was a pretty decent father. You know how I know it? She just had her 1st child. And she makes every effort in the book to have me connect with that child. So check this out. With all my travels, everything, regularly like clockwork, every 4 to 6 weeks, Anybody who knows me know where to find me. You know where I am? I am in Columbia, Maryland, visiting my grandkids. I have 3 of them. Because my son, when he became a dad, his wife was about to have the first baby. We went to a restaurant and we had a talk. Talk went like this. This time he talked, I listened. He said, Dad, I like the way you raised me. I like the values you gave me. I like who I am because of you. I want one commitment from you, that you'll be in my kid's life just as you were in my life. Wouldn't you like to hear that from such a child? Yes! Now, my daughter is not a talker. She's very quiet. She's not going to say that. But by her body language, when every Thursday, wherever I'm in the world, I get a text, Dad, you ready to FaceTime with my son? That's a message. She wouldn't call her dad to FaceTime with a 2-year-old son if I wasn't special to her. Are you listening to me? It's my dad. It doesn't matter who they are, where they are. If you are a strong dad, they want you there. If you fully understood just how profoundly you can influence your daughter's life, you'd be overwhelmed. Boyfriends, brothers, husbands cannot shape the character of your daughter like you do. Every daughter has a space in their heart reserved for dad alone. It doesn't matter how happy they are in their marriage, there's a room for dad alone. And any man who could be jealous about dad is a fool. Because no man is going to displace dad. Okay? Dad, strong daughters. Fathers are what stand between daughters in this toxic world. Folks, we live in a nasty world. You know that, right? Awful world. And our daughters will hear a lot of stuff. You know where it starts? In grade school. Kids will call our daughters stupid, dumb, oh man, ugly. That message will go through if dad is weak. Are you following me? That message will not go through if dad is strong. Because a strong dad is a protection against the toxicity of the world to your daughter. Are you following me? A daughter's self-esteem is centered around dad. Okay? Because when your daughter goes out there and she feels loved by you, she feels that nothing can tear her down. But when the daughter does not feel love, anything can pull her down. Are you following me? You are a protector of your dad. The Bible talks about the man being the priest of the home, and I hope you guys realize it doesn't mean you're the boss. You know that, right? We know women run the world. Okay? You know why my marriage is successful most of the time? We have a saying in my house. It goes like this. My wife's name is Perla. Perla. The saying goes like this. Whatever Perla wants, Perla gets. In other words, I am whipped. But I'm happy. I have a bunch of peacocks running around. I'm the man of the house. Rah, 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 rah. Are you happy? Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean I'm a pushover. But my wife knows whatever she wants. If I can get it, I will do it. Period. And most of the time, as far as I'm concerned, honey, you are right. Guys, here's the deal. Here's the deal. If you tell her she's wrong, you're going to have a fight. At the end of the fight, she's going to convince you she was right. And you will never win that fight. Why not avoid the whole fight and tell her she is right? Save your energy. Because if you do that, well, I'll give you an example. My Perla, wonderful lady. She is a police officer, highly stressful job. She come home totally stressed, okay? She comes home, she wants to tell me about all her day. I have no interest in talking about cops. I don't like cops. She knows it, I know it. The only cop I love is her. Okay? So when she come home and want to talk about cop, I have zero interest. And she started talking. I said, honey, tell me more about your day. Folks, I have no interest. But you know what? I learned something in psychology a long time ago. It's called acting as if. The vernacular calls it fake it till you make it. Why do I tell you all that? Those of you who have daughters, and it's hard for you to be a father to a daughter, you have to act as if. Fake it till you make it. There are certain behaviors you have to force on yourself. They don't come natural, but after a while, it gets better and better and better. Now, when Perla comes home, want to talk about the office, in the beginning, my attitude was so nasty. I look good on the outside. Inside, I was on, when is she going to shut up? When is she going to shut up? Okay, enough. Inside, okay? Inside voice. Now, I tolerate it more. You know what has happened over time? She tells me less and less and less because she knows I'm usually listening, and now she only tells me the urgent and important stuff. We both won. But what if in the beginning I did this? Oh, I don't like cops. I don't want to talk about the cop stuff. Oh, Tarzan, I'm man. I'd be miserable. So guys, get off your throne. Get off your throne. Okay? When the Bible says you are the priest, you are the religious leader of your home. You lead your home to God. If you do that with the wife, the daughter is watching. Are you following me? The daughter is watching. A strong dad loves his daughter's mother and shows it. If you can't do that, fake it till you make it. Act as if. All right, I'm going to share some good news and some bad news. First, the good news. Click the good news. Your daughter loves you just the way you are. Listen. Your daughter's not stupid, okay? Your daughter knows you better than you think. You following? They know your weaknesses. They know your strength. They know. Women are intuitive. They know. Trust me, they love you just the way you are. Okay? So here's the deal. Love them back. Love them back. There's that spot in their brain that says, Dad. And when you show up, they have to say, oh, it's my dad. Love them. Now, here's the bad news. Bad news. You need to stop in your tracks, open your eyes wider, and see what your daughter is facing today. Right now. What is your daughter facing? From the minute a baby girl is born to the day she dies, her father is her rock. It doesn't matter what he does. He is her rock. Daughters are some of the most forgiving people in the world. So, wherever you are right now, whether you're distant or close to your daughter, if you want to get closer, it is not too late. Now, you may ask for forgiveness. You may need to do a lot of praying before you go back. You know what I'm saying? You may have to work to the mother. Whatever you need to do, it's never too late. Because that box, that space in her heart still says, Dad. As long as you're alive, there's hope for your relationship, for you and your daughter, for you to show up and be the strong dad God made you to be. Their friends and the media influences what clothes they wear when they're teenagers. Do you realize even the grades teens get are influenced by the media and their friends? Okay? If the group of friends like math, she get good grades in math. If the friends are like English, they get good grades in English. If their friends are half naked, they want to dress half naked. And when you tell them, what are you wearing? It's all right, Dad. You need to find a nice way to tell them to change their clothes. Calling them a prostitute is not the best way. Are you following me? Language. The way you talk to your daughter is super important because every word you say has a meaning because you are her G-O-D, little g. I'm serious. Psychologists tell us that father-daughter relationship go through different stages. The typical psychologists tell you that in the as a little girl up to the age of 7, father is a demigod, God. I have news for you. Father's a demigod all their lives. It just changes the way it shows up. When they are under 7, daddy, 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 daddy. You know what I used to call my daughter? I have one. I used to call her, till this day I still do. I said, you are my favorite daughter. Yeah. My son was my favorite son. My daughter was my favorite daughter. If you have more than one, sorry. I have one daughter, one son. My favorite. My favorite. Okay? Because of my relationship with her, she feels special. She feels special. So, even if you think you have a different personality than your daughter, you operate on different plane, it does not matter. One of the key components of a father-daughter relationship is called T-I-M-E, time. The younger they are, the more time you need to spend with them. Are you following? Let me show you what I did the other day. The other day, of course, just not the other day, 2 weeks ago, I flew to Maryland to spend time. Both my son and daughter live there. Now, folks, it's raining, right? And my daughter wants to go strawberry picking. Guess what I did? I went strawberry picking. Do you think I want to be bending down? That's what I did for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm old, man. My back hurts. It doesn't matter. Time. And we came back, and I paid for all the strawberries. We came back, and we ate strawberries for the rest of the week, fresh strawberries. That was her activity. She knew I was coming. She took her son, who's 2 years old, put him in his thingamajiggy, whatever you call that push thing. And I got my other granddaughter to come, took her with us. She can walk. We strawberry picked. Then we hung out the whole day. She's a grown woman. Time. All right, so what are the damages that fathers can do when they are absent? Damage number 1, depression. Depression is the number 1 emotional ailment of the world, of the planet. All major countries have a high percentage of people with depressive disorders. By the way, typically, if there's depression, there's also anxiety. Depression and anxiety are cousins. They walk together sometimes. When a father is toxic in his daughter's life, she gets depressed easier. You know why? That spot that says dad is empty. The connection, the disconnected. Number 2, potential damage. I can never say that word, I have to pronounce it. Dissociative issues. We used to call this multiple personality disorder. We don't call it anymore. We call it dissociative issues. Meaning, when a little girl grows up with an absent dad, she creates dads in her mind. Okay? Forget it if the mother had multiple boyfriends coming in and out. All dads. Okay? And she's hoping that every one of them will stay and be her dad. And some of them even go further and create actually a dad that does not exist in their mind. And if they push it too far, they can suffer from that. They disassociate from the reality of who you are, and they replace you with a figment of their imagination. Are you following me? Because that place cannot be empty. Let me go one step further. This morning we'll talk about addiction. We've also discovered that a lot of young women who didn't have a dad present, they are more susceptible to become addicts. They are more susceptible to have kids before they are 20 and not married. They are more susceptible to fail in school, and I can go on and on and on, just because dad is absent. Damage. Next damage. Low self-esteem. What is self-esteem? Self-esteem is the ability to appreciate you for who you are, to love yourself, to be able to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I love you. You know, most people can't do that. Most people cannot look at themselves in the mirror and say, I love you. First, they think it's weird. Second, they feel it's uncomfortable. You know what I used to do for my patients and clients who had depressed? I have a mirror in my office. And I'll give it to them. I say, I want you to look in the mirror for about 10 seconds. At the end of the 10 seconds, say, I love you. They can't do it. You know what women tell me? Women tell me, even though I have to look in the mirror every morning to put on my makeup, I'm not looking at me. Most of these women who say that have daddy issues. Because something was missing. That daddy box is empty. Another potential damage. Next one. Rejection. Oh my gosh. Do you realize that, oh thank you, it's so kind. Do you realize most girls marry the worst parent? Let me repeat that. Most women marry their worst parents. I'm going to let that sink for a minute. In other words, if you are a weak dad, an absent dad, they're going to marry someone just like you. So as a dad, you dictate pretty much how the rest of their lives will go. You, the dad, will determine what profession they will do. Both of my kids are MSWs, Masters in Social Work. That's what I did. Both of them. The other day, my son is talking to my daughter. She says, hey, you know, Dad is traveling the world, helping people. Why don't you and I do the same thing? And, you know, you have to understand the relationship with my daughter and my son. They are like peas in a pod. They're always fighting, but it's fun fight. So she looks at me and said, knucklehead, you have a 3-year-old and a baby under a year old. I have a 2-year-old. How are we going to do like Dad and travel and save the world? He said, we can open a practice together. And she says, when am I going to have time for my son? Can you see where her priorities are? Okay? Relationship. It's all about relationship. So, if you reject them, they'll find someone else to reject them. Kids do what you do, not what you say. I'll repeat that. Kids do what you do, not what you say. You can be blue in the face telling them what to do. They won't listen to you. They'll do who you are. So if you tell their kids to tell the truth and you lie all the time to their mother, they will lie. If you tell your kids you need to be in church and serve God, and Sabbath morning, before you go to church, you have a fight with the family, they won't go to church when they grow up. They will do who you are. They will do what you do. What you say to your kids is blah, 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 blah. Who you are is the truth. That's what they copy. So if you reject them while they're young, that's all they know. They will seek for another man to reject them. Never fails. And the last one I talked about already, next slide, addictions. most addicts who are female typically have daddy issues. Because remember, dad is the anchor, is the base. My son is older now. He's a school teacher. He's not a teacher anymore. He's a school social worker. Till this day, he still calls me whenever there's an issue. I usually hear, "Hey, Dad." And I can tell by the tone of his voice, there's an issue he needs to talk to me about. And my son is 36 years old. Still call his dad. Still call his old man. You think I feel good when I get those kind of calls? Yeah, because we're still connected. Of course, I'm at his house every 4 to 6 weeks, like clockwork. I'm there, I'm the grandfather, and I wish I could show you some pictures of my granddaughter and I messing around the other day when we were hanging out. We're like two little kids. Both of us are 3 years old. I'm keeping the tradition of connection going. So some of us who are grandfathers, show up, especially if you have a relationship with your kids, okay? If you have a relationship with your kids, show up to be with the grandkids. Fill them up with sugar and send them home. We call that payback. That's what I do. Don't tell them. Okay. There are 3 areas of life. As a dad, a strong dad, you show up in your daughter's life. Put up the 3, please. Next slide. Physical, next one. Cognitive, emotional, spiritual. Let me address all 3. First, physical. A daughter needs the physical presence of the dad in the home. I don't care what you do for a living, you need to spend time with your daughter in the home. Let me give you an example of the lousiest father in the world. His name was David, was king of Israel. The Bible says that David was a man after God's own heart, but he was the worst father ever. You remember the turmoil that happened in his home, right? Rape, incest, okay, murder. And eventually, his favorite son, Absalom, took over the kingdom and chased his father out of town. No kingdom. David was a lousy father. He spent his time doing 2 things. 1, chasing women. 2, fighting. He was never a family man. Now, I bring this example for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is to show you, even the Bible, the holy men of God, some of them were not so great. Number 2 reason is this. No matter how much of a lousy father you think you are, God can still call you a man after his own heart. You know what made David that special? Every time he sinned, what did he do? He went back, "God, I'm sorry," and he meant it. God loves it when you come back. God specializes in comeback children. So if you're a father and you've been absent and you and your daughter right now are distant, go back to God. "Dad, I messed up. I've been a lousy father. Bring my daughter back to me. More than that, bring me back to her." And don't ask God, "Show me the way." He will. He will. So physical presence is very, very important. Be there. So you work. We all work. Have a day. When my kids were growing up, every other week was a kid's day. It usually was Sunday. So once a month was daughter's day. She got to pick where we went. And once a month was son's day. And the other 2 Sundays were mine. If the month has 3, I had 3 Sundays off. But what I did was, on the calendar was daughter's day, daughter's day, daughter's day, son's day, and they got to pick. I cannot tell you the kind of dumb things I did with my daughter. One time she took me to a tea party with her girlfriends. And she wasn't embarrassed. She told her friends, "Oh, today is daddy-daughter day. I got to bring him." Guess what? Even though they talk like that, they love it. Okay? When they become teenagers and they don't want to be around you, don't worry about it. Be there anyway. They like it. It helps them. People ask me, why did your kids come out so great? I tell them, first, it was the grace of God. Number two, a bit of luck, but mostly the grace of God. And number three, I prayed a lot. Number four, have you ever heard the term white on rice? That was me and my kids when they grew up. We had a policy in my home. The policy was this: all parties you want to attend happens in my house. All parties you want to attend happens in my house. When you bring the party in my house, I have two rules. No sex. Only your mother and I can have sex in this house. No drugs and alcohol. Everything else go. I don't care what kind of music you play. I don't care how loud it is. I don't care how you dress. I don't care how late it is. Party central. Guess what happened because of that? My son and daughter graduated from two different private schools. My daughter graduated from Loma Linda Academy, because I live in California then. And my son graduated from a private academy in North Carolina. I was the commencement speaker for both graduations. Do you know why? All their friends were over my house all the time. They knew me. They called me Mr. Audain, the crazy dad. Because at 1 o'clock in the morning when the party is going, they think I'm sleeping. I show up in my pajamas. Woohoo! What's going on? What's going on? Turn up the music! And they look at me. Your dad's crazy. Folks, that was calculated. You get me? In other words, even I'm sleeping, I'm there. They never knew in the middle of the night when I would show up. So whatever you're doing, I'm showing up. But most of the time, I give them their privacy. Both of them grew up like that. My son was the party animal, always having something at my house. Was central, in and out, in and out. Eventually what happens, all the kids, I was their other dad. They would come to me for advice. Those who couldn't talk to their dad talk to me. Those who didn't talk to their mom talk to my wife. It was amazing. Till this day, my kids tell me, just the other day, my daughters tell me, Dad, remember so-and-so and so? Of course I remembered her. Dad, do you know she's a medical doctor now? Yeah, what about so-and-so? We can talk about her high school years. Are you following me? We're talking late 90s, okay? Because they came to my house. Physical presence. The second one, cognitive and emotional presence. Children with involved caring fathers have a better educational outcome. A number of studies suggest that fathers who are involved, nurturing, and playful with their infants and children, those kids have higher IQs. Are you following? The more present a father is in the life of a child when they're small, the higher the IQ, the higher the intelligence. Okay? According to research from Vanderbilt University, girls who had close, positive relationship with their father during the first 5 years of life tended to reach puberty later than girls who had more distant relationship with their fathers. In addition, the University of Oxford researchers noted that girls who had more involved fathers were less likely, check this out, to face mental health problems later in life. Are you following me? So when you're present in your young daughter's life, she's more intelligent. Her IQ is higher, and she's got a lower rate of mental disorder. It's that little box that God created called dad, that foundation, that operating system that says, if dad is there, everything is okay. Everything is balanced. Let's talk about spiritual. I'm going to keep it simple. You can fake a relationship with their mom. You cannot fake a relationship with God. Because if you have a relationship with God, your daughter will feel it. Amen? Some of us, some fathers, fake it. I cannot tell you the sadness I feel in my heart when I travel and I speak to women who tell me, I grew up with a father who was a pretender. I said, what do you mean by that? When he was in church, he was the holiest man on earth. At home, he was a devil. And he had the nerve to tell me to love God. If he couldn't love God, why should I? Like I said earlier, your daughters will not do what you say, they will do who you are. Spiritual leadership means you have a daily connection with God. My daughter knows, she is 38 this year. She still knows at a certain time of day she doesn't call me. From 6 to 7, I'm on the prayer line. I pray with the prayer group for an hour. From 7 to 7:30, I have my private devotion. Anybody who knows me knows you don't call me between 6 and 7:30. That's my time with God. With the work I do, to be authentic, to be real, I have to do that. Otherwise, I'm just a fake person standing up here. Okay? And for you to be a strong dad, you gotta have a connection with heaven. Because folks, let me tell you, temptations are all around us. The minute you look away, the devil is gonna zap you. Okay? So you gotta stay connected. I still have theological discussion with my kids, not because I'm a pastor, not because I have a theology degree from Andrews University. That has nothing to do with it. They know my life. Am I perfect? No, I told you. They love me just the way I am. They know my weaknesses. They know where I've failed. They know it well, but they love my good part. Are you following me? They love me for the contribution I can make. And when they have a big theological question, they wait for Dad to come to town. And we all talk about it. And I feel sorry for their wife and husband because they roll their eyes because we get deep into it. Why? That's what we used to do when they were in high school. We always had deep theological questions. I made Sabbath fun. Let me give some example. Friday night at my house when my kids were growing up, we had the best meal. It was soup night. And we had all types of soup. And the key was to research, find out the latest soup we could come up with. We had fresh baked bread that my wife and I baked from scratch. And as Sabbath came in, you could smell the bread. They couldn't wait to eat it. Then we had formal silverware on the table. That's Friday night. And then we sat around the table, the four of us. We ate. After we ate, we sang songs they pick. Then we went around the table. What are you thankful for? Tell me one good thing that happened this week that you're thankful for. And we went around the table. And folks, that lasted 2-3 hours. The questions came up. Sex came up in one of our discussions. Because my son, one time, I think he was 8 years old, hey, Dad, I'm thankful for the week because I go to a Christian school. By the way, Dad, what's masturbation? Why did he ask? Because he could. Are you following me? I set up the stage for him to be able to ask. So we had all types of discussions. There was no taboo subject on Friday night. So that's Friday night, right? So Sabbath morning, we go to church. Sabbath morning, we have a big breakfast. Then we go to church. After church, we have the best lunch of the week. And they are allowed to invite anybody they want to. So there was always somebody at my house. Of course, Mom and Dad could. So we always had people on Sabbath. And when we got into discussion. Okay, discussions ended around 4, 5 o'clock. 4, 5 o'clock, we went for a walk. I'm telling you, typically every Sabbath. Walk took about an hour and a half. When we came back, we hung out. Sooner or later, the guests we have didn't want to leave because they love the atmosphere. They love the talk. They love the walk. And we have another discussion. Before you know it, it's sunset. Were my kids bored during Sabbath? No. All I'm telling you was calculated, folks. It wasn't by chance. It was calculated. I wanted to teach my daughter to have a Sabbath as a delight. Okay. So my daughter has a 2-year-old, right? So I called her the other day, Sabbath afternoon. I didn't get an answer. Guess what she was doing? Walking. You see how that goes? She and her husband and their son took them in a stroller. They went for a walk Sabbath afternoon. Pattern. That's what you call spiritual presence. All right. Now let's get to some solutions. Let me show you how a father can influence their daughter. There are 5 of them. 1, self-confidence. One of the biggest issue with women today in the workforce, all over the world, is self-confidence. The one attached to it is self-esteem, I already talked about. A little girl get their self-confidence directly from their relationship with their father. The stronger the connection is with dad, the higher the woman's self-confidence. The opposite is also true. The weaker the relationship with dad, the weaker the self-confidence. What is self-confidence? Self-confidence is how you show up in the world. You can show up with your head high, with an attitude of gratitude, or you can show up with your head down, totally depressed. You hate life. Life sucks, and you're waiting to die. Okay? Have I painted a picture for you? I think so. Dad, it is your job to teach your little girl to be assertive. You give your daughter a sense of strength and a huge amount of self-confidence. You yield a tremendous amount of influence on your daughter's life. Their beauty, their athletic prowess, their academic achievement, all of that you can direct if you boost their confidence. I made a deal with my kids when they were in high school. I am unconventional. You don't have to do what I did, but it worked for me. When my kids were in school, their mother and I decided to pay them for their grades. I know. You already know I'm weird, right? So in my home, if you got an A on your quarterly report card, you got $100. If you got a B plus, you got 75. If you got a B, you got 50. Anything below that, you get zip. And you get paid quarterly. And if you graduate from high school with a 4.0 or better, you get to spend a year in France in a boarding school, compliments of your parents. Do you think that motivation? Oh, yeah. My daughter graduated with a 4.9, and my son graduated with a 4.1.3. Notice how I remember those numbers, right? My daughter spent a year in France at Collonges, at the Adventist University. She speaks fluent French. My son had another idea. He said, Dad, I'd rather collect the money for all the good grades. So my daughter spoke French. My son took the cash and bought himself a car. But guess what? They both graduated with 4.0 or better. Do you think I kind of influenced their self-confidence? And I'll do you one better. I was not the one who paid them. I have a brother who's rich. I told him, since you love your niece and nephews so much, here's a deal I've made with them. Will you help out? I know him. He said, I won't only help out, I'll pay the bill. Cool deal. He paid. You gotta find ways. Now, some of my family criticize me for paying my kids for grades. Their kids did not have a 4.0 in high school. Hello? Mine did. They didn't speak at their graduation. I did. Because you know what would happen? Guess what? Besides parties, you know what happened in my home? They had study groups in my home. Because my kids knew, any meeting you want to have at your friend's house, bring it to my house. I'll feed you. Whatever you want. Any junk food you want. You're young. You're not going to get fat. I'm not fat. Your mama's not fat. So chances are low. Eat. Man, I spent so much money on pizza, on chips, and dips. Study groups, man, in my basement, in their bedroom. Oh, I forgot the other rules. No boy in my daughter's room and no girls in my son's room. The rest of the house is yours, even my bedroom. I don't care. It's your house. Those rooms, they're sealed. Nobody of the opposite sex. And I didn't have a lot of rules. They were very simple rules. Everything else, go. I didn't have a bunch of no, don't. I opened the house up. Folks, some days, I didn't know who was my kids and who was the other's kids. They were all over the place. One day, I came from my bedroom, half asleep, and a bunch of people sleeping in my living room. You know what happened? They stayed over from the night before from study group. Boy, girl, all over the place in sleeping bags. Oh, did I tell you we used to go camping all the time? Camping twice a year? My home was not boring at all. All of that is part of building their self-confidence. Next thing, the next one, please. Body image. Okay. You do realize between the age of 11 and 13, your sweet little girl, something happens to her. Some demon out of nowhere come and inhabit their bodies. That sweet little thing that you just call you, hey, daddy, how you doing? They look at you. What? My daughter one day had the nerve to tell me, it was the one time and she never did it again. I don't know where she got it from. I was bugging her. Dad, talk to the hand, the face don't understand. I did this, just like that. What did you just say to me? Dad, you made me flip, you're pushing me. What did you just say to me? Dad, you know I love you. What did you just say to me? And I never fought with her one-on-one front. I made a joke of it. And eventually, she felt really bad. 2 hours later, in my bedroom, Dad, can I come in? I'm sorry about earlier. I think I lost my head. And she jumped on the bed and hugged me. 13. The demons show up, okay? And that's when their body image, they think they're too thin, they're too fat, their breasts are too small, it's too big, their thigh, worry about everything, you know? At that time, Dad, you have an influence on them. Call them beautiful. You are beautiful. I love you just the way you are. You are one of the best things that have ever happened to me. These are things I said to my daughter. Any guy who comes here and asks me for my hand, he better be royalty before I say yes, because you are that kind of girl. Are you following me? I go on trips and I bring gifts, especially for her, especially for him. Make them feel special, because their body image is super, super important. Studies show that girls recovered from eating disorders more quickly if their fathers were involved in their recovery. Eating disorders is a big issue when it comes to body image. If they think they are too fat, they stop eating. They become bulimic or anorexic. One of the sad, sad stories that I have in my annals of stories with patients and clients is I remember of a girl who had an eating disorder. It was so bad that she got hospitalized. They called her dad to come in and visit her. The dad said, I'm not coming. That's not the daughter I raised. What kind of effect do you think that had on the daughter? Can you imagine? That dad was on the side of the law. I taught her the law. She disobeyed it. She'd suffer the consequences. Does God treat you like that? No. Even when your daughter do something dumb and stupid, love them first before you punish them. Are you following? But typically we jump to punishment before they feel the love. In my home, and it's fun to watch my kids now do that with their kids. I believe in spanking. But I chose not to spank my daughter because I didn't want her to get used to a man hitting her. That's me, okay? My wife spanked her. Her mother spanked her. But I spanked my son. Oh, he got it. But I never spanked out of anger. And for every spanking, there was an explanation before and after. Before I spanked him, I said, I'm going to spank you to get your attention. This is why. After they stop crying or they calm down, let's go get some ice cream. Do you understand why dad had to punish you? Yeah. Tell me. They tell me, and then I tell them. Because they always feel love. Because if you're not careful and you spank your child and explain it, it affects the body image. Especially little girls, they think they are worth beating. I've never, ever hit my daughter. Never. I did not want her to get used to a man hitting her. You're following me? If you beat your daughter, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just sharing information with you for you to take it and do whatever you want with it. Protect your daughter. Okay, I'm nearing the end. Education. A study by the U.S. Department of Education found that highly involved fathers and children who were 43% more likely than other children to earn mostly A's. In other words, the more you get involved in your kid's life, the more A's they get in school. Now you understand when my kids had 4.0 or better? The money was just a gadget, people. The message they got, Dad is paying attention. I was not the kind of parent that they brought 4 A's, 2 B's, and 3 C's. My majority was on the C's. Sweetheart, you got a bunch of A's and B's. That is awesome. Okay, what else do you have in your report card? C's. What happened? Well, I didn't complete my homework. So, next one you do better, right? Right. That's it. No beating, no butt, nothing. If you give your daughter a compliment, never follow the compliment with a B-U-T, but. Because when you say but, it cancels everything that you said before. Okay? Use and. You have a bunch of A's and B's. What else do you have? That was my line with them. And they would tell me they have C's. And I would ask them, so what happened? What will happen next month? I put it on them. I said, okay, what do you want to do for those A's? Well, I'm getting paid. I said, okay, getting paid. But how about Dad taking you out? What do you want to do? Very important. Next one. Father also influence their career. Most kids follow their parents' footsteps in career. So, here's the deal. It's very, very interesting. An article in Psychology Today in 2011 by Dr. Peggy Dexler says, the conveyor that once reliably delivered daughters from the protection of a father to the protection of a husband is not reliable. As a result, fathers who might have once defined their role as helping daughters prepare to be good wives now see it as preparing them to make and manage money, compete for job, handle relationship, be tough. What Dr. Dexler is saying, nowadays, there's no guarantee that your daughter will get married. Are you following me? I don't know if you follow the generations. This current generation has less attraction to marriage than you and I. You following me? So you need to prepare your daughters for life. And if they are 32, they don't have a boyfriend, don't ask them, when are you going to get married? And those of you church members who have single people in the church, stop bugging them. Leave them alone. Their husband is Jesus. They should be happy. It's better than they are single than meet a dude who's going to beat them. Okay? Or find a dude that they have to work to support. Leave them alone. They can be as single as long as they can. You still be dad. Okay? Let them enjoy their career. When they're ready, they'll meet the right guy. If not, you are the dad for life. Last one. This is super important. Dad, you will influence who your daughter marry. I already told you, they'll marry their worst parent. Typically, let me tell you, since I've been talking about my family, I hope you don't mind because that's the only example I have. Like I said, I was not the perfect father. Let me tell you the secret why I was a better father. I had a lousy, absent father. The person who sent before you is a product of a rape. My father raped my birth mother. I grew up in a very, very poor country. My father was a school principal, like this school, an Adventist school to boot. He was single in his 30s. He had a woman who worked for him who happened to be attractive. He liked her. She didn't like him that way. And he kept making passes, and one night she got pregnant. The first time and only time. She never had another child after me. And right after the pregnancy, my father got disfellowship from the church. He left town. But God had plans for me. About 3 years later, he met a Christian woman. A year later, he married her. 6 months after their marriage, she came and adopted me and raised me in the Adventist church. For the rest of my life, my father treated me like cow pie. You know what a cow pie is, right? Because every time he saw me, he looked at his guilt, what he did. You see what I'm saying? And I felt it. And the day he passed, about 6 months before he passed away, we had one of the frankest talks in our lives. We had a real talk. We didn't talk about my birth. We never brought that up. Eventually, I met my birth mother because I was raised by his wife, who I call mom. I didn't meet my birth mother till I was in my 20s. By then, I'm an adult. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. My birth mother would not talk about what happened. My uncle, who lived with my father at the time, knew about the rape. He's the one who told me. So after my father passed away, I decided it'll be a cold day in Hades if I'm going to be like this man. Are you following me? I decided the illness stop here. Okay? Am I talking to someone? Because sometimes we are not strong dads because we didn't have a strong dad. Today, I'm declaring in the presence of Jesus that you can say, the illness stopped with me. And I prayed to God. I said, God, I want to be a better father than my father was. And thank God he blessed me. And my mama, that woman who raised me, oh my gosh, she was dad and mom. She prayed for me. When I was in my darkest places, I would get an 11-page letter from her all about how she's praying for me. So folks, here's the deal. No matter where you are right now, how you feel right now, you can say, okay, the toxic behavior stop with me. I will not pass it on to my son or to my daughter. You can do that. And this is why I so proudly talk about my children, because God has helped the illness to stop with me. It's not going another direction, not going another generation. Conclusion. Let's conclude our presentation. Here are the priorities of a dad. Priority number 1 need to be God. Priority number 2 need to be you. Priority number 3 need to be your wife. Priority number 4 need to be your children. Priority number 5 is your work. Look at this for a moment. Whether you're a pastor or an engineer or a public speaker or a counselor, this is your order. God must come first. Then you need to take care of yourself. Take care of your physical health. Take care of your emotional health. Take care of your mental health. And the way you do that, like I gave you the inverted V this morning, Watch who you hang out with. That's part of your emotional health. Take care of yourself. Take care of that spouse that you picked. You may not like her today the way when you met her. You picked her. You got to live with her. Fake it till you make it. Act as if. Listen. If you don't have God, you can't take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your wife. If you don't take care of your wife, you can't take care of your children because they will know that you're not taking care of their mama. They're not going to listen to you. And if you messed up at home, you'll mess up at work. Most men in the world today have number 5 as number 1. When you are retired, you're old and you're wearing a diaper, your work will not come and help you. I'm sorry to be blunt. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But if you invite me, you're going to get it, you know. I mean, when you're old, retired, and you can't do anything, guess who comes to help you? God, your children, and your wife. So if you treat them well while you're healthy, they'll be there when you're not healthy. Okay? Priorities: God, self, wife, children, and work. And let me conclude. 3 principles to be a strong dad to strong daughters. Principle number 1, be present. Principle number 2, treat the mother with respect. Whether you're still married to them or divorced. I have an ex, okay? Mother of my children is not my wife. I have a second wife. Guess what? We do everything together. Guess where I spend my second wife, Perla. Guess where we spend Christmas Day every year? At my ex-wife's home. They are friends. They go out to breakfast together, just the 2 of them. Scary the first time it happened. Guess who set that up? Remember, I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm not stupid. Why would I be enemy to the mothers of my children? What am I teaching them? I'm going around the world talking about love and relationship, and I can't talk to my ex-wife? 2 years ago, my former mother-in-law passed away, my ex-wife's mother. Guess who got the first call? Me. All the siblings, 9 of them, asked my ex, Wilney's coming, right? Not only Wilney coming, Wilney's going to sing for Mama, right? So people thought it weird. Here I am singing at my former mother-in-law's funeral. I'm still family. All the siblings, they love me. No big issue happened without inviting Wilney. And they tell me, Pearl is welcome too. You think that was easy? Brothers, I worked it. I worked it because I'm a father. I have to show my kids how to act toward people. And if I can't treat their mother right, even though we didn't agree on certain things, we got divorced, I still have to treat her right with respect. So now, her husband and I, we're buddies. We hang out together. He's ill, so I was in Maryland the other day. I know he was ill, so I went over to the house to help her out, to do some stuff for her. Her gutter was not working, so he can't do anymore. I do it. Perla knows. It's part of the deal. We help each other out. Are you following me? So whether you're married to them, whether they're still in your life, show the mother of your children respect. It gives a message to your daughter that you're a respectful person. It'll go a long way. Number 3, have an active relationship with God. Your devotional life, your priesthood in the family, and you are the first one to show them what the heavenly dad, heavenly father is like. I want to leave you with a very common Bible verse that you all know in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Please put the next slide. I didn't put it up. Oh, I did. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. If you want to be a strong dad to a strong daughter, you got to have a strong God in your life. Amen.